In supplement to decisive on the tertiary president bid of the ex-mayoress of Mexico town, and constituency how has be more irate in the policy statute quo will as well choose 500 members of convention and 128 senators. I fluctuate to say how all of Lopez Obrador's supporting comes of just an indignation voice, told Michael Lettieri, a Mexico scientist and study comrade at the Washington Direct Current-based Justice on Hemispherical Sphere believe pot. Surely he's an indignation voice and perhaps the is concentration in more than city creative intelligentsia, but down there's as well a expect voice. Down there's a voice for Lopez Obrador house since down there's hopefulness how down there can be changing. There's which you requirement to aware on the greatest poll in Mexico's story, in more than rather than 3,000 posts at share, who are the some guideline president candidates? Anaya is accompanied by Jose Antonio Meade of the governing institution Revolutionist Side, PRI, that appears on the verge of destruction following length dominant the nation's policy scenery. Which's the background of the poll? Peña Nieto, who cannot run for de-election, has been embattled by lot Mexicans for which they say was his fail to transactions in common criminality, corrupt practices and disparity. The poll is laid in a plebiscite on the nation's policy elitists and economical line, the guideline applicant interrogative the main policies of position Cold War Mexico, on to Shannon O'Neill, a Roman-us teaching comrade at the Justice on Overseas Relations. Peña Nieto's institution Revolutionist Side's 70-year capture on force was eventually break in 2000 in the poll of Vicente Fox of the domestic activity side. But the pledge of changing by new administrations never embodied. And Peña Nieto's 6-year in office space were spoiled by subsequent policy scandals, slow economical increase and his fail to carry out policy and economical reforms. Candidates include been annihilated in 22 of Mexico's 32 states for the campaigning time of year. In Guerrero Country 1, 23 were annihilated, on to it elect. May 2018 was the deadliest monthly written with the by the government began producing murder information. Down there has been a full of 20,506 homicides the year, in 4,381 homicides in May 1, on to the by the government's largest latter paper. Peña Nieto oneself, his authority has been a fail, Lettieri told. Which largest Mexicans include seen are the corrupt practices scandals, and the abuse, that, in a path, has be though more than destabilizing by Peña Nieto. Organized criminality has excited off of kind of organized, big-scale narcotic trade and in the direction lot more than carnivorous regional operation. Which is Lopez Obrador's circulation. Powerful the Narodnik 64-year-old political figure is named as AMLO in Mexico, wherever he came up as a term of the PRI up connecting the leftward-leaning side of the more democratic coup. He has vowed to fall down a policy institution he likens to a mob of force. He has pledged to allocate the cash how greases the wheels of policy bribery to increase public programmed. His opponents say he will dive the nation in more obligation and economical confusion. In the major, he's an against PRI voice or, by expansion, the pen, that has surely been quite shut to the PRI in regulation of steering these history 6-year, Lettieri told. Although Lopez Obrador's pledges to pure up by the government and bring abuse include not been supported up in specific proposals, analysts spot out how the identical can be told of the dull campaigns of his opponents. I don't very wish to choose on Lopez Obrador there since no of his opponents very did each, Lettieri told of the candidates' economical and public proposals. Its against corruption attitude has usually been panned by human beings in the against corruption society who choose kind of really engineering institution solutions and Lopez Obrador's philosophical can type of be distilled downward to, I will not be pervert. I will be versus corrupt practices. His concept is how which has been missing is the institution will. On the economics, O'Neill told via electronic mail, Lopez Obrador sees the country as the pulse and deliverer, drive increase immediately via investment, subsidies and supports. Will the poll influence Mexicio's relation in its neighbor to the polar? The two countries stake billions of dollars in trading, and a boundary how stretches for almost 2,000 miles, through that CEO Donald Trump card has vowed to build a side. Millions of U.S. countrymen journey to Mexico each year, and millions of Mexico migrant, not documentary and legislative, dwell in the joint state. Time Washington's relation in Mexico remnant frigid, Lettieri told Lopez Obrador has vowed to job in the U.S. The frontline runner has not been virulently against Trump doing a campaigning how has substantially concentrated on the instant problems plaguing Mexico. Polls propose how voters believe same's the one who will top stay up to Trump card, but at the identical period how's not why he has a 20-spot conduct, Lettieri told. Which is the largest essential vote block? Approximately 89 millionth voters will be acceptable to voice for the chief of by the government in Mexico town as governorships in the state of Chiapas, Guanajuato, Jalisco, Morelos, Puebla, Tabasco, Veracruz, and the Yucatan. Down there are as well regional seats at share in 30 state, on to election officials almost 13 millionth youthful human beings among the ages of 18 and 23 are anticipated to voice for the at first period, election authorities told. In Mexico, these two groups alone comprise about 45% of acceptable voters. On Saturday, Mexico's millennials and as called General Z could act an enormous part in determining the following general of the nationality's leaders.